Mr. Rollis! Mr. Rollis! Welcome to another episode of TMDWP. Put me through to Unit HQ, will you please?
Just 1 minute to talk about Doctor Who. Just 1 minute, or maybe two. Welcome to YouTube, we're talking Doctor Who. For you.
Hello and welcome to another episode of TMDWP. Now at the beginning of the series, during my defence of the bottom 10 from the Doctor Who magazine poll, I said I was going to do a full episode on defending Time and the Rani. Well, here it is. Sorry if you hate it. I'm aware that many people do. This is partly in response to a challenge from a while back when Tom and Lewis on the Cloister Room podcast reviewed the story and challenged someone to defend it. I took up that challenge. But it's also something I've wanted to do for a while, ever since I last watched the story on VHS. Before I go into this defence, let me explain my relationship to the story. As you'll know, long-term viewers of the podcast, as far as I can work out, Time and the Rani is the only story of which I saw a bit on original broadcast in the classic series, a snippet from part 3. And like many stories, I think I probably read the book first and then picked up the VHS at some point. More of that somewhere else in the series. And I was sat, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, at home, watching Time and the Rani on VHS. And this was shortly before it was announced that the DVD was coming out, so I saw it twice in reasonably quick succession. And I was watching it, and my housemate came in, and rather than sit there embarrassed and sheepish, I was just like, no, I'm quite enjoying this. And he came and joined me, and I think vaguely enjoyed it himself. So it's not all bad, and it doesn't immediately provoke all the reactions that received fan wisdom says that it should. So here are a few things to like about Time and the Rani. The first thing is the locutions. Now, the planet itself is not best realised, it's just the Doctor Who quarry, as usual. But I think a lot of thought, more thought perhaps than usual, has been put into this alien race, from their skeletons, they're not quite human, they're sort of lizard-like, to the way that they run with their arms stuck backwards, which looks entirely impractical and not entirely sure how that would have evolved. But at least you can see that the team are thinking about the implications of this being an alien race, and I quite admire them for that. The next thing I'd like to defend is the Rani's plan. Now this comes in for some criticism. I've heard this on other podcasts where they go, oh, it's a load of nonsense, it doesn't make sense. It actually makes perfect sense if you pay attention. The Rani is trying to explode the strange matter asteroid to turn the planet into a time manipulator. So far, so simple. In order to do that, she has to synthesise a material called Loihargil. Okay, that's a bit ridiculous, being an anagram of Holy Grail, but she has to synthesise a material that can shatter the strange matter. Again, so far, so simple. And the way she does that is by kidnapping all these geniuses and plugging them all into the same brain so that they can pool their resources until they come up with the recipe. Simple. And she's using the people on the planet, as she always does in her experiments, as forced labour. I don't understand what the problem is. The plan is relatively straightforward and makes sense within the Rani's character. So, ugh. Now, the Rani's impression of Mel is fantastic. It's hilarious. It treads a fine line because Kate Moore obviously is impersonating Bonnie Langford's way of playing Mel while she's there on the set. And I think she plays it wonderfully, and it's very, very funny. If you don't find it funny, well, obviously, comedy, different people like different things. I think it's fantastic and very, very hilarious.
Who are you?
Mel? Melanie? Are you all right, Doctor?
Again, I realise this next thing is something that you'll either love or you'll hate. The Malapropisms, the Doctor mixing up his sayings. I just find it funny. I just generally find those kind of things funny. Puns, wordplay, all that kind of stuff. It works for me. I understand that it doesn't work for everybody, but in my case for Time and the Rani, it's in there.
Whoops! Oh! A bull in a barber shop.
Doctor, are you sure you're well?
Of course. Fit as a trombone.
Fiddle. Fit as a fiddle.
Are you? No, as I expect.
Then we have the special effects, which even detractors from the story tend to admire, though even that I have heard some criticism of recently. I particularly think the bubble traps work very well with the on-location explosions, and the in-studio visual effects come together to have a really good effect, with the possible exception of the fringing round Bonnie Langford's hair, but then that's going to happen when you stick Bonnie Langford on a blue screen.
Do you think it was some kind of practical joke, sir? Students or maybe someone?
Whoever it was, they're going to pay for it as soon as I get my hands on him.
You've killed Detective Inspector Gascoigne, a policeman.
Wanda Ventham and Donald Pickering on screen together again in Doctor Who 20 years after they first appeared together in The Faceless Ones. I really enjoy both of them, and they make a great couple in this story and sell the dilemma that the leaders of this planet have, their grief when they lose their daughter to the Rani, and Bayes' self-sacrifice at the end. It's played very well, and they're two great actors in the midst of this story.
She will leave Lacotia.
Will she, Bess?
That was her promise.
And when she does?
Our lives will return to normal.
Normal, Bess? Without Son?
I think the relationship between Icona and Mel is really well done. Mel is a very annoying companion, I agree about that. She's certainly down near the bottom when it comes to ranking of companions. And so to come up against a character as stubborn as Icona is, and he is probably just as frustrated with her as we, the audience, are, I think that works really quite well. He is, more, for me at least, he's the identification figure than she is, and so it's nice to see her getting taken down a peg or two by him, and to see him developing slightly as a character in relation to her.
This is no game.
All right, let's try another tack. You claim I was alone when you found me.
Oh, don't go on about this doctor again.
I have to.
There was no one else in the strange box. If he exists, he must have left you.
No way. The doctor wouldn't do that.
Yeah, he says he would.
It's not even up for discussion.
Good, I shall enjoy the silence.
Finally, I'd like to put in a word for the Tetraps, who again come in for quite a bit of stick. Doctor Who has always done aliens looking alien quite well, I think, or at least making the effort to steer away from silly foreheads like Star Trek and other shows tend to do. It's probably easier on the makeup and slightly more believable in one respect. But it doesn't make me think alien. It makes me think human with prosthetic on forehead. And yes, the 4-eye thing doesn't quite work, particularly when the Doctor manages to sneak up behind one of them. But at least they're trying, and one of them gets to silence Mel by sticking his tongue in her neck, which is a fantastic moment. So the Tetraps get a bit of a thumbs up from me.
The mistress will be overjoyed to see you.
So there you go. I hope this defence has helped you think maybe about going back and revisiting the story again. I know it's never going to be anybody's favourite story. It's never going to be anybody's favourite Sylvester McCoy story either. But I think it's overly maligned and looked down upon by too many people, including the people who made it. I enjoy it, and I hope maybe I've challenged some of you to go back and have a go at enjoying it yourselves. And if you do, please let me know. I would like not to be alone. It's fun being a contrarian, but it's nice to be in good company as well when it comes to being a Doctor Who fan.
Just 1 minute to talk about Doctor Who. Just 1 minute, or maybe 2. Welcome to YouTube, we're talking Doctor Who.